My neighbor lives in apartment 4C, but this building only has rooms through 4B. Last night, I watched her walk through a door that opens into a hallway that does not exist. The delivery man wore a gray uniform and carried a long, narrow box through the 4th floor hallway, stopping at apartment 4C. I watched him knock, watched the door open, and watched him walk inside as though he had done it 1,000 times before. The problem is simple and stupid and impossible. There is no apartment 4C. The floor plan in the lobby, the numbers on the doors, and the lease agreement taped inside my own kitchen drawer all say the same thing. The 4th floor ends at 4B. My apartment, there is no 4C. I told myself it was a mistake, a misprint, a contractor's shorthand, a unit that got subdivided and renumbered without anyone updating the directory. Then it happened again. A woman in a green apron carried white lilies with no card, turned left at the end of the hall, and disappeared into a space that should have been a wall. I stood in my doorway and watched. The hallway is 12 steps from the stairwell to my front door. I have counted them in the dark, in a hurry, barefoot on cold tile. There is no room for a door beyond mine. There is no room for anything. The neighbor who lives in the space that does not exist waves at me every morning. Same time, same angle of the arm, same smile. He is always wearing a pale blue shirt, always standing just inside his doorway, always facing me as though he has been waiting for me to open my door before I open it. I have never heard a sound from his apartment. Not music, not footsteps, not the hum of a refrigerator. The hallway outside his door is quieter than the rest of the building, as though the air itself goes still when it reaches that threshold. I went to the county records office on a Tuesday. The clerk was helpful, bored, indifferent. She pulled the original architectural filings for my building, dated 1987, and spread them across the counter. The 4th floor layout was clean and simple. 4 units, A through B on each end, a central hallway, a utility closet, a fire escape access. But in the margin, in pencil, someone had drawn a rectangle. Dimensions, 9 feet by 14 feet. Labeled in faded ink, unallocated. The rectangle sat exactly where my neighbor's door should be. I asked the clerk what unallocated meant. She said it was common in older buildings, a space left for future conversion, mechanical access, or storage. She said it with the flat confidence of someone who has never stood in a hallway and watched a delivery man walk into a wall. I did not argue. I took a photograph of the filing and went home, a room that was planned, measured, and then according to every official document filed since, never built, or never meant to exist on paper again. That night, I did something I am not proud of. I pressed my ear to the wall we share, the one between my bedroom and whatever is on the other side. I heard nothing, not silence, nothing. The difference is hard to explain. Silence has texture, the faint pulse of your own blood, the settling of a building. This was absence, a hole in the sound of the world. And then, very faintly, I felt the wall vibrate. Not a thump or a voice, a rhythm. Slow, deliberate, like breathing, but too measured, too patient, as though whatever was breathing had all the time that ever existed and intended to use all of it. I started keeping a log. Every sighting, every delivery, every wave. The deliveries came on a schedule I could not predict, but could not deny. Always between 2 and 2:15 in the morning, always carried by a different person, always wearing the same expression of focused calm. The neighbor never received food, no groceries, no takeout, no packages from any retailer I could identify, only objects. A wooden chair, a mirror wrapped in brown paper, a glass jar filled with something dark and still, each item carried carefully, reverently, as though the contents mattered more than the container.
The smile never changed. I tested it. I waved first one morning. He waved back at the exact same instant, as though he had been mirroring me rather than responding. I did not wave the next day. He still waved, same timing, same arc of the arm. I turned my back and counted to 10. When I turned around, he was still there, still smiling, still watching, his eyes fixed on the space where I had been standing. He did not blink, not once. In all the mornings I watched him, did he blink. Last night I could not sleep. At 1:47 in the morning, I heard my front door rattle. Not a knock, a rattle, as though someone was testing the handle with infinite patience. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. The rattle came again, and I realized it was not my door. It was his. I watched through the peephole as the door to 4C opened inward, and my neighbor stepped out. But he did not step into the hallway. He stepped into a corridor, a long, dim passage, stretching in a direction that made no sense. Lined with doors I had never seen, lit by a sourceless amber glow.
He turned back, looked directly at my peephole, and smiled. Then he closed the door, and the hallway was empty, and the space where his door had been was just wall. Smooth, unbroken, pale beige wall. This morning I checked. There is no door. There has never been a door. The peephole shows only the hallway I have always known. 12 steps of cold tile, ending at nothing. But the deliveries continue. At 2 in the morning, I hear the soft knock. I hear the door that does not exist open and close.
And last night, when I pressed my ear to the wall, the breathing had changed. It was closer, and beneath it, so faint I might have imagined it, I heard my own name, not spoken, whispered, in a voice that sounded exactly like mine, played back from somewhere deep inside, a room that was never built, in a space that was always there, waiting, unallocated, patient, and hungry for someone to finally move in. I never asked what he needed all that space for, but after last night, I wish I had.